let's get right into this. So no one will ever accuse me of planning my content too far in advance because I like to be current. I like to be talking with you about the issues that you're facing each week, and I like to observe what's happening. So on Tuesday, so for those of you that are here with me live Thursday, it is April 22nd, Earth Day, when we're recording this. But a couple of days ago on April 20th, I put out a video on what to say in your salary offer discussion. So basically, what would you say when you receive an offer? And we were kind of playing off the fact that employers were trying to display an offer for a person in my community, and they were comparing her rate or his rate to the rate of the team. And so we started talking through some of that, and I got a lot of questions, people asking me, are employers using the global crisis as an excuse to actually lowball in potential employees, especially those that are out of work? But actually, even before that, over the weekend, this is what really got it rolling for me on this topic. I have she's rather sensational coaching client. She and I do a lot of one-on-one work together. I prep her for a lot of interviews. I counsel her on her career. We have a very, very strong relationship, and we meet quite frequently. She's been going through a lot of interviews. She's a very senior person. She's a chief revenue officer type of position, a high earner, very smart, very experienced, and has been interviewing with a lot of private equity companies and startups, and she's been getting some offers, but she continues to turn them down because she hasn't found the right one. She emails me on Saturday and said, Andy, thanks for the coaching earlier. We went through, I finished up with this company. They selected me from a list of many people to actually give me the position. And I got into a discussion with the CEO yesterday, so Friday, and he gave me this insultingly low offer, and I really need to talk with you. Can we meet early Monday or Tuesday? Because I need to get back to him with my response. I'm not sure if I should just walk away and all that good stuff, or if I should even waste my breath, that kind of stuff. So we ended up getting together, and what I'm going to share with you today is what I taught her to say and do and how to approach it. And it applies to you, anybody. It doesn't matter what you earn, what your position is, where you are in the world. And so I want to share that. Now, the first thing that I would say when you actually get an offer, so step 0 is don't make any reaction. And when I say you're getting an offer, I'm talking about they are either socializing the offer. So you'll hear me say that a lot. We say that a lot in my recruitment business, where I'll talk to a client, and rather than put all the paperwork together initially, we like to have a little dialogue about what the candidate is feeling. And so we socialize the information before we put it all in writing. That's a common practice because employers want to get to the point where they can put a good offer together for you initially. So a lot of times they will socialize it. I always will tell you, I want you to react to something. Let them socialize to you. Don't you actually socialize to them. So this CEO was socializing his offer with my client, and that's what a lot of companies will do. So either they're socializing it or they're actually putting a formal offer in front of you, of which it is, in your opinion, whether rightly so or wrongly so, an insultingly low offer. So the first thing that you do is don't have any reaction. And the second thing that you should do is, I always am sharing with you, teaching, harping on the fact that it's always better never to assume. You always want to get more information. And in this case, there's some critical information that you need in order to know what your next step should be. So the best way to get at that information is to understand how the employer views the position and views you. So what I shared with her and what I would tell you to say is the best question to ask once you get this offer, thank them, say thank you very much. I appreciate that you would like to make this work. I would like to understand, is the amount you offered based on how you view the position in general, or based on how you feel I specifically will do and contribute based on the skills and experience I bring to the table? So, because what are you ultimately trying to get at? You want to know, is that what you would offer anyone because that's what you think the position should pay, or is that specific to me? Okay, let's drive this one home. I know a few of you are going to want to loop that, but this is what I'm talking about. You're trying to get at, is it A or is it B? Because that's going to tell you what to do. So, is this how you value the position in general? Maybe you just think that's what the position pays and that's what you were going to offer to anyone. That's the first part of the question. The or part of the question, and the word feel is important. Or is that how you feel? I specifically will, the value I will contribute based on my skills and experience. Okay? And if what I'm saying ain't coming through, like with zero distortion, I wrote this one out for you. It's code for, is that what you think anyone is worth, or is that what you just think I'm worth? This is ultimately what you need to do because you're at a fork in the road with your decision-making process. And as a matter of fact, you need to know, do I just throw the white flag in and say, I'm out of here, or do you stand up and fight? So this is what you're trying to get at. Okay, so think about that. Is that how you feel about the position, or is that what you think of the position in general? That's how you value it, or is that how you feel and what I'm worth? Okay, now, if they say, well, that's what we think the position pays, right? If A, you got a couple of options. If it's truly insultingly low, then what I would do is you either walk away, right? You're worth more. You deserve more. Get with me. We'll help you figure it out, right? Get with the community or whatever. But stand your ground. Walk away. Politely walk away. That's okay. You can do this. Or if, kind of part A.1 is if you feel that you are in a position where, I need this job. I need to have some money coming in. I get that, right? All our circumstances are different. Then, actually, I'd accept it. Try to negotiate, right? Try to negotiate with all the other negotiating tactics that I've given you, or, right? And then you keep looking. So that's another option there. If it's option A, meaning that's what I value in that position. That's actually what I think it's worth. That's what I'm willing to pay. Okay, that's one route. Now, but what if it's B, right? What if it's B? All right, well, hang on. Actually, I value the position more. And if I had a person with better skills, more experience, or I felt did better in the interviewing process, right? That's what they're saying. So now you can hang in there and fight, but now you know it's worth getting in the ring. Okay, now, if they say this, you have to ascertain why they think what they think. Okay, so now we're getting into another fork, right? You stay and fight. That's what they think you are worth. Now, what usually happens? Now you need more explanation, right? Why do you think that, right? Why do you think that's what I'm worth? So don't start going into your counteroffer and making your argument and getting all defensive. That's the wrong tactic. Every single interaction, for as long as you possibly can go, should be asking questions. Because I don't want you making assumptions and you don't know what they think until they literally say it. Okay, so why do you think that? Now, one of the very common things you're going to hear is, I'm telling you they could be with a capital C-O-U-L-D, could be using the wrong metric. What do I mean by this? Well, we think that's what the market pays. I think that job's worth $110,000. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. Or how about this one? That's what we pay the team. That's what we've historically paid. That's what I think we can get during a pandemic and you're out of work. There could be a million reasons, but this is the wrong metric. All right, let me give you a for instance of what I shared with my coaching client. So we get into this situation where she gets into the CEO's office, and this was a train wreck because for number one, the CEO had enlisted a recruitment firm who they were paying. And the recruitment firm should have been communicating with my client, my coaching client. But they weren't. The CEO kind of went into the meeting half-cocked, so to speak, and said, okay, well, we chose you. This is great. I'm really excited. And so he wanted to socialize what was in his head this is like stream of consciousness, the absolute worst way to get into a discussion like this. So this is something I want you to look out for. And he said, well, I'm thinking 400,000. Now, I'm guessing she choked. And by the way, this is a very high earner. It's a fraction of what she earns today. And she said, I was so stunned, I didn't even know what to say. She said, and I think my facial expression said it all. And before I even said anything, he then said, well, okay, maybe 600. Okay, she didn't even open her mouth. And he counter-offered himself 50% increase on her salary. And now she had collected herself, and now she was really confused because she hadn't even said anything. And so she said, well, can you help me better? Didn't have the tactic I gave her until after the fact. And she said, well, can you help me better understand why you think that job should pay for that? He said, well, I got to keep you closely in line with the team. And the chief customer service person earns $350, and the chief people officer earns $325. And so she said, well, how do I counter that? Now, I don't know if I got any of my leaders here in my folks in my leadership coaching. And what do we talk about when we talk about how to get somebody to see something differently? I talk to you about priming and framing. And for those of you that ain't in my leadership program, this is the number one tactic when somebody tells you something silly like that. Okay? It's called reframing. So you need to get them to look at their concept, their thing, their opinion, their whatever, in a completely different manner because they are not looking at it the way you want them to, nor the way they should be looking at it. So what do I mean by this? Well, this woman, my client, is a chief revenue officer. She's going to generate all the money. Okay, she's going to help them grow substantially. The chief customer service person doesn't do any of that. They service the customers. Obviously, we want to keep the customers happy, but that job isn't as hard as actually making the initial sale and setting it all up. And the chief people job certainly isn't anywhere near as influential. So she said to me, should I walk away or should I go to fight? And I said to her, and I'll say to you, I never want you to walk away until you are absolutely certain you need to walk away, because you don't want to be looking over your shoulder. So what do you got to do? We got to get more information. We got to figure out if he actually values the position this way, if it was something you didn't do in the interview to prove that you were worth more, or if he just doesn't really understand how to look at this and what you should be getting paid based on your contribution. Not what I think you should be getting paid, but based on the value you are going to create. So let's use their information to help him and understand, and you reframe the argument so when you go back and you have the second discussion that isn't even going to be your official counteroffer, but you need to get him to look at this differently. She says, how do I do that? I said, well, let's look at what you earn first off and all the things that you have and what it took to get those and the contributions you made. Now, you go back to him, and he's looking at you in terms of the other executives on the team, which is a bad way to be looking at you because your job is going to be completely different. They make $50 million this year. So I asked her, what is their projection for the next, say, 5 years? Let's be generous, let's say 4. She said, well, they have put plans together, and their message to me is we should be doubling based on the product, based on the market, based on the prospects, based on the whatever. We should be doubling every year for the next 5 years. That's $100 million in year 1 for her, $200 million in year 2, $400 million in year 3, $800 million in year 4. Okay? 1% of $800 million, $8 million, that's what you want to earn over the 4 years. So how do we show him that your focus should be on generating that money and you should be paid in relation to the value you provide, which is generating that money, building the global team, so on and so forth. And he doesn't have to give you the money, but there needs to be a structure in place where he pays you $8 million. Okay, so you don't have to give me 2, 2, 2, and 2. You could pay me 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? 1% or something like that, but that's reframing it to get him off costs for people who don't even do the same job you do. And even if they did do the same job that you do, now you have to reframe it in terms of your own skills in relation to them. But this is what I mean. If you're going to fight, it isn't because you think the market pays $8 million for you. It's because based on what you're going to contribute and the agreement that you are going to make, that is your goal and that you are the one that's going to be doing that, and that's his expectation, then you should be paid in alignment with what those goals are and the contributions you're going to make. And there could be bonuses in there and other things, right? You don't just gift the money away. But you got to reframe your argument. You have to decide, is it worth it to even have this discussion? But if you're going to have it, you need to do it. Okay, this is one way. Now, this is a great example of, I think, what we were talking about the other day on Tuesday on the recorded video that I released, because I think Memetown was asking me about, well, they want to pay me what the rest of the team gets paid. Well, in that case, that's what you need to do. You need to reframe what they're thinking. If they say, where'd it go? That's what we think, or we need to pay you in terms of what the team is. This is the number one tactic that you need to do if they go that route. Now, if they say, well, I just think that's what you're worth, okay, based on what you showed me in the interviews. Now, here's what you need to remember at this point. If this is effectively what they're saying to you, we liked you the most, or you were the only horse in the race, or whatever. But if they gave you an offer, they want you to take it. Okay? They didn't put the offer in front of you, or they're not socializing it because they don't want you to take it. They want you to take it. So now you have to determine, well, where did I fall short? Where did I not show you what I was going to do? Now you have to get into an argument where you're going to have to repackage some of the things that you explained in the interviewing process. But at least you know you need to do this now. This is different. This is a different tactic. So if they pull you towards the team, or they say, this is what we think the market pays, or any of that nonsense, you got to reframe it. If they say that's what we think you're worth based on how you performed in the interview process, you have a whole different fight that you have to have. Now you're going to have to revisit what it is that your goals and objectives are, and you have to bring up those goals and objectives again to talk about what your contributions are going to be. This is much hairier, because if this means you did not perform as well as perhaps you could have in the interviewing process. And here's another thing about what happens, especially at this juncture. Right now, there's a lot of confusion in the world, right? Some employers, mistakenly so, think they're going to be able to get people for on the cheap. Job candidates, like a lot of you folks, you think you know what you're worth. I don't know how you think that. I don't know why you think that. I don't know if you bought a book of data. I don't know if you're looking on websites. I don't know if that's what you're used to being paid. And employers, they think they know what you're worth based on stuff they buy and data they buy. But let me tell you this. You remember I said this. Just think about this the next time you have an opinion. In God I trust, and for everything else, I need data. The problem with your situation right now is no data exists for a moment in time decision for what you're actually worth. The employers don't have it, and you don't have it. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to make your best argument based on what you know. You have to realize when the trends change in the market, what you are worth. Data you're looking at is already latent. It's already done. That's what people were getting paid 6, 8, 10 months, 12 months ago. That's how the data was collected, packaged, and shown. Right? You don't know what this employer is willing to pay for you to do this job right now. And you don't know that. You cannot possibly know that. None of us can. That's the point I always keep making about there is no such thing as market pay. Don't hang your hat on that. I have no problem if you want to ask a few friends, but that's not a lot of data points. And looking on websites, those are really not good data points. Okay, you don't know what this particular situation, what the outcome of it will be. So you have to do your best to get the most reasonable amount that doesn't put a bullseye on your head. You just don't know. So I want to reiterate what we're talking about here. If you get now we're talking about an insultingly low offer. I would not be asking this if they gave you a pretty fair offer. Is that how you feel about this position in general? Is that amount of money how you feel about this position in general? Or is it how you feel I specifically will do and what I will contribute based on my skills and experience? Okay, that's the question I want you to ask. And then I want you to make the determination, okay, well, if that's the case, right? If A, if B. Decide what you want to do. Use the tactics I've given you, not to mention all the other tactics I've given you in the salary negotiation playlist on my channel. And the last thing that I'll mention before we go to the Q&A for those of you that are here with me live, on May 11th, I have a job search mini camp. It's a live 4-parter, okay? It's going to be awesome. And on the 11th, we're talking about the resume. On the 13th of May, we're talking about job searching and in particular boss hunting, and I've created a whole new boss hunting Bible. So that's going to be a great one. And then the following week on Tuesday, the 18th, we're going to be talking about interviewing, but on Thursday, May 20th, I am going in depth on salary and negotiation and a specific case study for somebody in my coaching group that I worked with, and exactly what he did everything right. And he was nice enough to say, you can share this with the community because there's a lot of good insight in it. And so I hope if you're watching this before then, you jump into that job search mini camp. And if you are watching this after, I would definitely go back, like I said, to my salary negotiation playlist and check out those tactics. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I want to get to some questions now for everybody who's watching this on the recording. I'll see you next week.